All right, hello, welcome to the Note Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Deppen, and joined today by Michael Slawin, another note investor. And we're going to be talking a little bit about how to get started in note investing. So Michael, welcome, and how's it going?
Thanks, Dan. It's going great. It's a beautiful day here in the Midwest, and life is good. So yeah, going well. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just kind of grinding away,
Yep.
like always. And you're located in St. Louis, right, or that area?
Yes, I am in St. Louis. We're right on the Mississippi River. For those people who fly over our city and see our Gateway Arch, um,
Yeah.
we are sometimes known as a flyover city, but there's lots happening here in St. Louis. So we live in a suburb about 10 minutes west of St. Louis City proper. And yeah, it's a great town. The cost of living is low. It's a nice place to raise a family, all those things. So yes.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I've never been able to spend any time there. I have flown over it a bunch, and I've driven through it before on I-70. And there was one time I stopped with my wife where we actually got to go up the arch and do that. We were there for like a couple hours, but that was about it. Haven't actually gotten to experience it too much.
We've got a lot to see and a lot to do here. So, and the restaurants are incredible. So the food is great here.
Very cool. So maybe we start by talking a little bit about like some of your background in real estate and how you came to get interested in the note investing game.
Um, okay, I'm going to try and summarize this, kind of give you the Reader's Digest version of this. So my dad was an accountant, and I used to help him, used to do taxes at night and bookkeeping at night. And I was always interested in what he was doing as far as the numbers and the finance part of it, and used to help him do a variety of things, from sorting checks by vendor. Yeah, this is back in the days before QuickBooks,
Yeah.
and looking at balance sheets and profit and loss. So anyway, that was the finance interest of it.
Do you actually have like
Uh,
handwritten ledgers and stuff or
oh yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I know the tick marks and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he did that religiously. Uh, so anyway, that was kind of the start of my interest in business and entrepreneurship. I've owned a variety of businesses, from let's see, a printing company, an SEO company, uh, uh, an e-commerce business, a variety of things. But throughout that time, I've always been interested in real estate. I have done 20 plus fix and flips and wholesales,
Oh
and
wow.
landlord and all the rest. But that was kind of on the side. It was never my primary focus. So
20 seems like a lot to do just on the side. Like I've known people who have done like one or two on the side, but that's pretty good.
yeah, it one of there's some things I did really smartly. I'm not sure if that's the word. I got tax credits for most of the renovations, so that certainly helped. That was up to 45% when you combined state and federal, and also some duplexes I converted into condominiums and sold those separately. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so it's kind of like breaking up a company. When you sell the pieces, they're worth more than the whole, and that was the situation with these duplexes.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing similar things with land too, where they buy a big piece of land and then carve it up and sell it off for more.
Yes, yes. Actually, that's a
Yeah.
subdeveloper. Yeah. So anyway, I was kind of at a breaking. I was kind of at a stopping point with what I was doing prior to this, and I was talking to some smart friends of mine and who know me for a long time, and the consensus was, quite frankly, you've always loved real estate. Why don't you get your license? Why don't you sell real estate? So I got my license. I did not enjoy the retail aspect of it. That's a very emotional decision, rightfully so, for anyone and everyone that's buying a home. Um, but I did enjoy all of the research that I could do via the online tools, because I'm a licensed agent here in St. Louis. So with that said, I started looking at a variety of different educational opportunities, came across a notes webinar, and started following a couple of people on Bigger Pockets, on Crowded Investor, on LinkedIn, also on Facebook. Surprisingly, I was surprised at how many groups are investment-based pages or groups.
Yeah,
Actually,
there are a bunch of them out there.
yeah, and
And there are a bunch just on notes, let alone all the other aspects of real estate investing. Yeah.
absolutely. And it makes sense because Facebook does tend to be a bit older. So that's the demographic, and that is also the demographic of investors, people who have disposable income to invest. So anyway, joined all of those, did all the research, joined a mastermind with you, as well as a bunch of other good folks, and started doing started my note business called Notes Connect LLC. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. Again, talking with people in a B2B platform, business to business platform, as opposed to business to consumer platform, is much more it's much more in line with my skill set. So the finance aspect, the real estate aspect, and the sales and marketing aspect, all three of those things, I feel I've got good experience, as well as I enjoy those things. So it made sense.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
sounds like you did a lot of networking online with some of the other groups and poking around. I mean, did you do anything as far as, training to get up to speed on like the nuts and bolts and the aspects of no investing that are different than other aspects of real estate?
Yeah. Initially, actually not initially, but I joined an organization with Scott Carson called
Yeah.
We Clip Notes, and have taken many of his courses. Scott is incredibly bright. I tell him all the time, I don't know when you sleep, because you do so
Yeah.
much marketing, so much networking, so much education, and it's all out on YouTube and on the different podcasting networks, Apple iTunes, all the rest. So anyway, when I was taking, I usually walk in the morning. I would just put on my headphones and listen to his podcasts. He was interesting. He was very, very, very direct, which, quite frankly, I like more
Yeah.
so people that talk about the weather. It's not interesting to me. But he was very direct, and he clearly knew what he was talking about. So joined up with that, did that training. It also led me to the latest weekend virtual webinar called Notes Camp Commercial. My end game has always been to own commercial property.
Okay.
And that's what I'm looking into now, in addition to the notes business, because I'm talking to some of the same institutions, banks, either an asset manager that holds residential notes, or a commercial asset manager who holds notes on businesses. So thankfully, the economy is good. So to find a note on a residential property that makes sense with the numbers is difficult. That's good for the economy. It's good for the U.S. It's not great for those of us in the note buying business, but that's all right, because I don't feel like I was put on this earth to foreclose on people.
Yeah.
I think I was put on this earth to help people. So in my business statement, I guess you would say, it's a win-win-win. What we try to create here at Notes Connect is a win-win-win, helping the homeowner or the borrower stay in their home,
Okay.
helping my JV or joint venture partner or investor make a profit. And also, of course, helping Notes Connect make a profit as well. So all three of those things play into it. Yeah, so that's where I am with the notes piece of it. The commercial part of it, I'm really interested in self-storage right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why self-storage in particular?
Well, it's no toilets, no
Yeah.
phone calls in the middle of the night, no repainting and recarpeting an apartment or a house when someone moves out. Um, Less uh, B2C interaction, business to consumer interaction. There's a
Yeah.
way of automating self-storage facilities. They,
I hear you there. Like I know when I was in high school, I worked at a car wash for a few
oh,
years.
yeah,
And
cool.
that's why I came away going, there's a certain percentage of people out there who are batshit crazy. And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, I kind of realized, okay, I want a job like in an office somewhere where you're not interacting with 200 random people every
Yeah.
day. One of them is going to be nuts. So yeah, I hear you.
Oh, at least one
Yeah.
of them. Yeah. It's tough. Life's hard and people, I'm a big believer in reading and trying to improve yourself and all the rest. And one of the things that I'm reading for a second time, I read it like 20 years ago, is oh gosh, I've got it right here. Hold on, because I didn't want
Yeah.
to forget the name. Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And he talks about, several areas of life that if you don't take care of or get right, you can't do anything else. They just create fear. And one of them's illness. One of them's making sure your relationships with your friends and relatives are all in place. And also poverty. If you're suffering from severe poverty, all of these things, one or a combination thereof, create fear.
Hmm.
And fear paralyzes people. So I've seen it, unfortunately, with some friends of mine, very bright people who are just afraid of who knows what. So anyway, yeah, you talk about the drama associated with working with a ton of people. That unfortunately is life, and
Sure. Yeah.
it's not something that I'm really interested in participating in. I'd rather, talk to you, talk to other investors, talk about business. Um, that's what gets me up in the morning. That's what makes me jump out of bed. So
Yeah, for sure. And self-storage is definitely an interesting business. Bought some living room furniture recently and ended up renting a truck to pick it up myself to save some money on the delivery. And it was a U-Haul rental slash self-storage business. And I was there, I was kind of just looking around, watching people and go, this is kind of a cool business. It's kind of interesting. They got this automatic gate, people just go in and out, put stuff in and out. And they don't really have to do a whole heck of a lot in the office other than this U-Haul thing that they have going on
right.
inside.
Yeah, the side businesses that a self-storage facility can have are numerous, including U-Haul, including vending machines, including even, maybe a franchised UPS store,
Yeah.
which those are growing by leaps and bounds because of Amazon. Amazon, one of their carriers, at this moment, as we record this, is UPS.
Hmm.
We have Amazon Prime, so there's, it's UPS stickers that are coming here
Yeah,
on
I've
box.
got that too. I get like a daily delivery. I think it's either me or my wife ordering something.
Right, exactly. I tell you what, it's a great thing, along with Instacart, which is here in St. Louis and other variety of other cities.
Hmm.
We don't have to go to the grocery store. My gosh, how great is that? I hate the grocery store. And whoever invented the cereal aisle, there's a special place for them when they pass because,
Why is that?
well, my gosh, the cereal aisle has like 100 different different boxes of stuff, and it's all marketing. It's all of, there's store brands and name brands, and if you bring home the wrong one, you got to go back to the grocery store. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and it's impressive because it's all really just some variation of like sugar and food coloring and, a few other things. Yeah, I don't eat that stuff anymore, but when I was a kid, that definitely worked on me. I ate Cocoa Puffs way longer than I should have. I'm probably lucky to be alive, actually.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about other stuff that we ate as children, and it's just what people made, and lots of preservatives, not enough natural things. So anyway, I've tried to change that as well, and I think that's a shift in society. I don't think that's necessarily. I think it's a lot of people. Most people around our age
Hmm.
just grew up in the '70s, and
Yeah, in the 70s and 80s, everyone just figured, okay, if I come up with this chemical concoction that tastes good, that'll be great. Nobody thought much of it. But yeah, my thinking on that has really wheeled around over the last 10 years, especially living in Colorado and near Boulder, like I do. There's fortunately a lot of, access to organic foods and a lot of other good things. So definitely clean that up. I know myself.
right, it's a good thing. It keeps you healthy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And
Um,
it still keeps up your energy level. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're looking at going into commercial eventually. How long do you think it'll take you to make that transition or
Well, I've already looked at 3 self-storage units.
okay.
Not personally, I've done some initial due diligence on them, and for a variety of reasons, I passed on them. One of them could not provide me history and based the price off of 2019 projected earnings or revenue, which is ridiculous. That's not how you value a business. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
let's see, the other 2 were either 100% occupied, and the other one, his financials, the multiple he was using for pricing his business was way out of whack and way out of what is done in the industry. So the guy that was 100% leased, I can't
Mm-hmm.
add any value to his facility. My
Right,
perfect
he's maxed out unless there's room to like expand and add more units or something like that, or I guess maybe if there was potential to raise pricing, but there's probably limits on that.
right, and that leads to another good point. There was several self-storage units that were as clean or cleaner than his. They looked nice. They had paved driveways instead of gravel driveways, things like that, within a very short distance of him. So I think the demand is there, but I didn't see any place to add value to these. Now they're in my calendar to follow up with all of them in 3 months. Um, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I've also talked to several folks who are on my investor list about investing or just really self-storage in general and commercial properties in general. And they're very, very interested. So I think I'm ready to roll. It's just a matter of finding the right property. And I've
Yep,
got some marketing strategies that I am working on to get that going as well. So again, it's
that's good. Yeah, it's always good to have a focus because I know commercial is very broad, and I'm eventually interested in getting into commercial, but at this point, I wouldn't say that I've even dabbled in it really at all. But one thing that I know a lot of folks have told me is that each kind of industry, each kind of business is really unique, and so that due diligence process and the specific numbers that you care about are all different. So it sounds good that it sounds like you're kind of going deep on one specific domain rather than just trying to boil the ocean and look at a whole bunch of different aspects of commercial.
Yeah, it was interesting when I first started down this road. Very recently, quite frankly. I thought to myself, okay, is this a shiny object that's out there, and I'm just doing the shiny object? Well, no, I don't believe so, because I'm still concentrating on notes, still interested in that aspect of the real estate business, but I'm just expanding my focus.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I'm working more, but that's all right. I love what I'm doing. So
Yeah,
it
that's
makes,
always fun.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so back to the residential notes a little bit. So about how long did it take you from the point where, you discovered notes and you thought, hey, this looks interesting, to where, you felt comfortable enough to actually begin doing some
Sure.
things?
You know what? I started sending out uh, marketing. I started emailing asset managers as well as potential investors about 2 to 3 months after, I made the decision. Okay, let's start doing this.
Hmm.
Um, to really get up and running was about 6 months, but two to
Yep.
three months is when I initially started. So the learning curve is steep, but if you've got a fairly, uh, I guess, um, if you think logically and if you are if you listen to the webinars, and even if you don't, if you study these things, they're not that hard. There's just a lot of pieces to it. Um, so, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
my process was a similar timeline. I think it was about 6 months from when I really started looking at it to when I really started doing stuff. And the game, like you said, it takes a long time. It's almost like it's like a puzzle. Like all the pieces are there. It makes me think of like Scott's videos, right? I think he might have over 1,000 at this point, and like all the information's there, but it just takes time to put it all together and then
right,
be able to go and start doing stuff.
right. One of the things I found challenging, to be quite honest, was there is so much information that you have to synthesize and get into a form that you can understand and refer back to. That was difficult for me. You've got to get to the place where when someone presents you with a situation, you know what to do. Maybe not 110% of the time, but at least 75% of the time, 80% of the time. Um, that's my comfort level as far as I think I'm well beyond 80% at this point. But
Hmm.
um, that's when I started sending out emails, started knowing more of what I was talking about. It's interesting. I was talking to a guy yesterday. He is in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, and we were talking about investments and real estate investments. And really nice guy, but very timid, and he almost seemed embarrassed on the phone about how much he had and had not done. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, dude, you should not be, feel bad about what you have or have not done.
Yeah, most people haven't done anything. So
Right,
what the yeah, why did you?
right, right. At least he made the phone call to me. I mean, I think that's a huge step. He also was concerned about the amount of money that he had in his self-directed IRA. I was like, look, yeah, everyone should have a retirement fund, and an emergency fund, but you got to work towards that, and you got to get over the fear. And like I
Yeah.
was saying, earlier about outwitting the devil, the fear is created through a variety of factors. Um, this guy has kids, he's got a wife, he's got a full-time job. It's not easy, but
Sure.
you just push through.
Yeah, I mean, notes, it's very easy to get stuck on
Yes.
notes if you're looking for reasons to get stuck. And I see people doing that all the time. I've run into it a lot when I've had notes for sale. And I've had this with more than one person where they make a bid and I accept, and then they go, well, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. And I've kind of learned to recognize that pattern when someone's going down that thought process. And it's like, oh, it doesn't matter what's going on with this specific no, they're not going to close. Because if you want to not do note deals, it's very easy to find reasons. You can nix the, the most excellent deal out there if you get caught in that cycle. And they still got to be careful. You don't want to do stupid things, but yeah, it's very easy to get tripped up and get stuck in no investing. Lots of things to cause you to stop if you want.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you. There is the fear, obviously, of losing money, but also just fear of the things you don't know. So
Absolutely, yeah, and they're out there, right? I mean, that's not insignificant. Yeah, there are definitely things that could bite someone that's brand new if they're not following the right process. Yeah.
right, right. And process is, gosh, a large piece of what we're doing. Actually, in any business, if you can scale your processes and systems, you can scale your business, meaning growing your business.
And that's
So,
one of the things I like about notes is once you get those templates down, it's very scalable. It's like you do the first note deal. I remember it took me forever. I spent a lot of time and a lot of back and forth. And it was definitely a very inefficient process, right? But then when you do the next one, and like what I did was, being same part of Scott's group, right? I'm sure you've used some of his same checklists for due diligence and things like that. And so I started with his, but then I've kind of like taken some things out and putting other things in and refined them. And so like what I found for me is like over time the process gets more and more down pat, and then next thing you know, it's pretty simple to scrub through a deal and see if it works or not.
right, absolutely. It's all in the numbers. There's not a lot of emotion involved in whether or not you buy a note. Now, how you work it out, that's where the emotion comes in. But of course, you have a servicer do that. So you're not violating any RESPA rules. You're not getting yourself
Sure.
in trouble with the SEC, all that kind of stuff. But again, all of these things are things that cause fear. And you just got to get over the fear and move on. Um, yeah, and Scott, I wanted to also mention you have some educational videos that I've watched on YouTube about Excel,
Uh-huh.
which are excellent and very helpful. So thank you for that.
Oh,
And I
thank
hope,
you. Yeah.
yeah, I hope you continue to do that because I think that it certainly helps me. So I'm sure it helps a lot of other people as well.
Yeah, I get a lot of good feedback on those. And basically what I do is as I'm doing something, either my ROI calculator or sometimes I do back of the envelope things on one-off deals. When I think of something like, oh, this would be helpful, then I just sit down and make a 5 or 10 minute video on it. So, but yeah,
Right.
I usually get good feedback on those, and they don't take me that long to do. So also if people have their specific requests or something they're struggling with in Excel, let me know, and I'll see if I can do something on that. So.
Well, and you're one of those guys that knows Excel and the formulas because of your background,
Mhm.
110%, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, I know it's interesting. Like I know it better than most, but the I would call like the quote unquote like real guru. I took a training class when I was doing my MBA. They had some people come in, and it was this company that trains investment bankers on Wall Street,
mm,
and I got a taste of what like the very very best people do, and it's way beyond anything I do. Compared to them, I'm like beginner level, but compared to somebody who doesn't use Excel or doesn't use it on a regular basis, the thing that kills people is they don't know what they don't know. So a lot of times, just learning one or two little formulas can really turn somebody loose.
right, right. Well, speaking of the guys that know more than you do, you never want to be the smartest guy in the room, right?
No,
Uh,
not at all. No. Yeah.
which is a cliche, but gosh, it's so true.
That's why the mastermind groups are so nice. That's why I always like hanging out with other people who are doing things because I learn stuff all the
Totally,
time.
totally.
Yeah.
Really good people. And what is Coopetition? Is that what? Oh gosh, that guy from
Coopetition. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We're all competing each against each other for some of the same uh, inventory or product or actually notes.
Hmm.
But we all are in the same boat as far as continuing to learn, and we share stories, and that is cathartic to me. It's very helpful, and it's just a great group of people. They're not cutthroat. They're not. If there's a dishonest one in the bunch, everyone knows it, and
Oh
no,
yeah, and people talk. It's interesting, especially like some of the conversations I have offline
yeah,
with different folks. Yeah.
yeah. But those people are few and far between because they get tired and they go to something else.
Right.
So
And the people who are like that are inherently kind of lazy.
I
And if
agree.
you're like that, you don't last very long in notes because it's not that it's that hard, but you got to be a little bit detail oriented and do a little legwork. And someone who's like trying to skate by and not willing to do the work gets filtered out fairly quick, I think.
Right. I totally agree. Um, yeah, that I totally agree. Kind of like the Joker brokers. Those guys are.
And they pop up all the time. Yeah, and you see the patterns over time as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think you're really you're limited by how much work you put in, and the reality is, in my opinion, in notes as opposed to fix and flipping or rentals or other forms of real estate, even though the market, the supply of notes is fairly tight now compared to what it was a couple years ago. I think that ratio of the inventory available relative to the number of investors who are actually serious about going out and buying stuff, that ratio is still much better than other forms of investing. So yeah, so to your point, I'm not worried so much about having a conversation with somebody and locking them onto something and having them get a deal that I don't.
Right.
Because what you learn in that exchange benefits you so much more. Like really, I think your ability to do note deals is not so much limited by bidding against other people. It's your ability to find the new sources and then be able to do your pricing quickly and flip things around and all of that.
Well,
So
right. I would add to that also the relationships that you create with the folks selling the notes, whether that be a legitimate broker or an asset manager at a particular regional small bank. So yeah, it's all of those things. So
yeah, very good. So I think we'll move towards wrapping things up now. That was great. Any parting thoughts, or do like maybe I'll do this like Jerry Springer. I'll need to have like a final thought for every podcast. I haven't done that.
well, you know what? Okay, a couple of things. First of all, when you flip a house, it does not take half an hour. The contractors don't always show. So, in other words, stop watching HGTV. In fact, stop watching TV. If there's
Yeah.
some news that catastrophic news, that happens, someone's going to tell you about it. Okay, that's the first thing. Secondly, I heard something last night. Now, it wasn't TV. I was watching Netflix, so I
Yeah.
was on my iPad. But at the end of this one episode, uh, there was kind of a narrator talking about you've got to get past your past. That's when you can look to the future and conquer that. So, in other words, um, I wake up annoyingly optimistic most days, actually every day.
Hmm.
Um, but don't let yourself get beat down by the day-to-day grind of whatever it is. If you're truly committed to changing your life financially, which opens up so many doors for you, then continue to look forward. Stop looking at the past. Get over, whatever hurts you got or whatever's happened to you. Just keep on moving. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Definitely, it's good advice. So, well, Michael, hey, thank you very much, and have you on again at some point in the future. All right.
okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Dan.
All right. Thanks.
Talk to you soon.
All right.